Hi everybody, I'm Amelia and this is Grace, and we are both full-time real estate investors from the great state of Iowa. This video is going to walk you through why it's super important to have multiple exit strategies in real estate investing.
At the beginning of this summer, I put a house for sale on the market and it did not sell.
An investor's worst nightmare.
And exactly why you should have multiple exit strategies, or at least understand what your exit strategies are.
So today we're going to walk you through different exit strategies that you can utilize in real estate investing. For example, you plan to BRRRR a property, but it doesn't work out as planned. So here are some backup strategies that you can use in addition to a BRRRR or in replace of a BRRRR.
So the first one, probably the most obvious, is to flip the house. So let's say that you overdo the rehab, or you don't get the rent that you wanted, or you don't hit the ARV. An option is to always sell. And I like to BRRRR with the backup of flipping as opposed to flip with the backup of BRRRR, because when you flip, you unlock an additional 20% of the equity than you would with a refinance. Because when you refinance, you get 80% of the ARV. When you sell, you get 100. So I would rather have my backup go from 80% of the ARV to 100% of the ARV than vice versa. So flipping can be a great backup strategy. But one last thing, if you're gonna sell a property or flip it, don't forget to add in the realtor fees, because that will also take 5 or 6% off of your margins. Number 2 is to bring on another investor. This might be something you might not think about, but let's say that you overdid a rehab, or you're not doing as well in a project as you would have liked to. It's always an option to bring on an equity partner who can give you some capital towards the deal to now own a house with you or own a portfolio with you. So that's always a good option.
If you are going to bring on an external investor, make sure you have everything in writing that says who owns what and who's responsible for what. Super important to protect yourself.
The best part about this strategy is you get to keep your property and maybe have some more funds too. Something that I've done a few times actually as a primary strategy, but can be a great secondary strategy or backup strategy, and that is to do seller finance or rent to own. And if you don't know the difference, rent to own is basically a fancy way to say seller finance, usually from the landlord's perspective. And what you can do is, again, let's say you over rehab a property, you go over on your rehab budget, so now you're not going to cash flow the way that you think you would. You could rent to own / seller finance the property to a tenant, and they will pay you 8, 9, 10% on that home because they can't go get a mortgage elsewhere. And they're willing to do that because they maybe really want to be a homeowner, and for some reason they can't qualify down the road at the bank. So that interest payment is gonna help you cash flow so much better than a long-term renter would.
And a super bonus of doing rent to own is that the tenant essentially owns the property and you don't have to do any of the maintenance. So they're responsible for all the maintenance, and you're pretty much just holding the mortgage and they're making you monthly payments.
At the end of the day, all of these backup strategies don't need to result in home runs on your numbers, because these are backup, worst case scenario strategies that if your initial strategy didn't work out, you can look to.
So the next backup strategy we're going to talk about is if you've decided to do a midterm rental. So you furnished your unit, you're planning to rent it out for 30-day stays or longer, but you can't find anybody to rent the unit. So what are a few backups, Grace?
The most obvious backup is that you convert it to a long-term rental. So maybe you sell some of the furniture to get some of your money back, and you put somebody in there for a year. But the great part about this is you could even leave the furniture and maybe be just a little bit higher than market rent because it is furnished, but still go for that 12-month renter.
Another option is you could turn it into a short-term rental. So you've already got it completely furnished. Maybe it's not in a super destination market, but you could still try listing it on Airbnb and BRRRR and see if you have any hits that way before you decide to sell all your furniture and go the long-term route.
Yeah, so another tip is I love to use short-term rental for my booking gaps on my midterm rentals. It helps me make more money without being a full-blown short-term rental host.
So the bottom line really is you need to have a plan A and B for every single investment you make, whether it's a flip, BRRRR or a buy and hold, you have to have a backup strategy in case things don't go as planned.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Bigger Pockets. And if you enjoyed this show, we'll catch you on the next one.